According to a recent survey, nearly half of all long-term couples admit they saw red flags from the very beginning but chose to ignore them. Have you ever questioned whether the person you're with is genuinely the right match for your life's journey? Perhaps you felt a subtle unease or noticed small, nagging concerns but brushed them aside, hoping that love alone would conquer all. If this resonates with you, stay with me. In today's video, we'll explore the early signs that a relationship may not stand the test of time, and more importantly, we'll talk about how awareness and honest effort can either transform a fragile bond or guide you toward a healthier future. Welcome to our channel, a space dedicated to uncovering the deeper layers of human connection, guided by timeless wisdom and real-life experience. My name is Adam, and I've spent years studying not only modern psychology, but also the perspectives of ancient philosophers and thinkers who understood the intricacies of the human heart. Here, we don't just spotlight what's going wrong, we offer practical, uplifting solutions so you can elevate your mindset and discover a more harmonious way of relating to those you care about. The goal isn't to make anyone paranoid, but to empower you with the insights needed to make informed, authentic choices that honor who you truly are. In this video, we'll dissect the subtle clues, everything from seemingly harmless habits to patterns of miscommunication, that can signal deeper problems down the road. I'll share relatable, real-world examples so you can see how these issues emerge in everyday life, and we'll discuss why certain hidden behaviors can slowly erode the foundation of trust and respect. But I also want to emphasize hope. Recognizing these signs early on doesn't have to be a sentence for heartbreak. With the right mindset, candid conversations, and a willingness to grow, many couples can steer their relationships back onto a positive path. And if parting ways turns out to be the healthier choice, acknowledging that truth sooner rather than later can save both partners from prolonged confusion and pain. So, stick around until the end, where I'll offer actionable steps and deeper strategies for anyone ready to foster a more peaceful, prosperous, and fulfilling love life. Feel free to drop a comment at any point. Perhaps you've seen these signs in your own relationships or in those around you. Share your observations, because learning from each other's stories helps us all grow. Now, let's embark on this journey toward understanding and empowerment, one early warning sign at a time. Recognizing early signs of a potential breakup is crucial because it allows us to address issues before they grow into deeper wounds. The sooner you spot these warning indicators, the more time and emotional energy you save, and the more proactive you can be in making meaningful changes. It's not about panicking at the first hint of trouble, rather, it's a chance to pause and ask, is this a one-time slip, or part of a recurring pattern? By seeing these signs as opportunities for honest reflection, you can either work toward healthier solutions or avoid spiraling into a painful and drawn-out conflict. In my personal journey, I've seen how small imbalances, like one-sided emotional investment, poor communication, or clashing core values, can quietly undermine even the most promising relationships. Sometimes, it's just an overlooked habit that, if caught early, can be resolved with open dialogue and mutual respect. In the sections ahead, we'll delve into the most common red flags, from subtle emotional mismatches to glaring trust issues. If any of these resonate with your experiences or someone you know, feel free to share in the comments. By shining a light on these concerns now, you empower yourself to shape a more peaceful and rewarding path forward. Love bombing can feel exhilarating at first, because who wouldn't be swept off their feet by lavish gifts, big promises, or non-stop affectionate messages? The problem arises when these grand gestures overshadow genuine emotional intimacy. Perhaps you've known someone who, within days of meeting you, started talking about marriage or showering you with expensive presents. On the surface, it might seem like a fairy tale come true. But upon closer inspection, you realize this person never truly pauses to understand your feelings or perspectives. It's almost as if their main focus is to perform love rather than engage in the sincere work of building a relationship with shared values and mutual respect. I recall hearing about a friend of mine, let's call her Beth, who began dating a man who constantly praised her beauty, left bouquets at her doorstep daily, and even talked about traveling the world together after their very first week of dating. Beth initially felt flattered. After all, the thrill of being adored was irresistible. Yet, any time she tried to discuss something personal or voice her concerns, he would brush them off, quickly steering the conversation back to his grand displays of affection. Over time, Beth realized that while he showered her with big gestures, he had no real interest in hearing about her life goals, her childhood experiences, or even her day-to-day worries. It became clear that he wanted to relish the excitement of being romantic more than he wanted to genuinely connect with her as an individual. True love is about depth, not just spectacle. If you find yourself dazzled by extravagant attention yet left wanting for honest conversation, it's wise to take a step back. Ask yourself, does this person care about who I really am, or are they more invested in the idea of me as a trophy or a means to stroke their own ego? Real intimacy unfolds through dialogue, empathy, and consistent emotional support, not just costly gifts or sweeping declarations. So, if you've ever encountered behavior that felt overwhelmingly grand but strangely hollow, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. You might be surprised at how many others have navigated, or are currently navigating, a similar situation. Have you ever noticed how the smallest moments often carry the greatest weight in a relationship? It might be as simple as saying, "Hey, look at that little bird outside the window," or sharing a funny meme from your day. These seemingly tiny gestures form a tapestry of daily life, offering countless opportunities to strengthen your bond. Yet, when one partner consistently dismisses these everyday overtures, a silent disconnect begins to grow. You might bring up your favorite song or a memory from childhood, only to be met with half-hearted murmurs or a quick change of topic. Over time, this lack of engagement can leave you feeling ignored or misunderstood, as if the true essence of who you are never fully registers in your partner's awareness. I'm reminded of a couple I knew who had very different ideas of what quality time meant. The wife treasured light-hearted exchanges, simple things like pointing out a cat napping in the sun or admiring someone's garden on a walk. Meanwhile, the husband rarely bothered to look up from his phone, shrugging off her attempts to share these small, wonder-filled observations. Initially, she brushed it off, thinking it was just his busy mind at play. But as the months passed, she realized the accumulation of such dismissals had created a barrier between them. They no longer celebrated the tiny joys that knit two people's lives together in mutual appreciation. A sturdy foundation of love isn't made solely of grand vacations or expensive gifts. It's built from the countless little moments of being truly seen and heard, listening to each other's day, laughing at an inside joke, or marveling at a bird outside the window. If you've ever felt that subtle sting of, "I wish you'd just look when I say look," feel free to share your story in the comments. You might discover that many of us wrestle with these small but pivotal interactions, and that awareness is the first step toward reconnecting on a deeper, more authentic level. Poor communication often manifests in two extremes: either any discussion escalates into a shouting match, or one person simply checks out, refusing to engage. In both scenarios, the real issue never gets addressed. Perhaps you've encountered a couple who seem to argue about the smallest things: what to have for dinner, whose turn it is to do the dishes, yet what they are truly upset about lies far deeper. It could be fears about not being appreciated, insecurities about the future, or unresolved resentment from past experiences. Without healthy dialogue, these issues stay buried, fueling the next blow-up. Alternatively, one partner might choose to avoid confrontation altogether, brushing every concern under the rug in hopes that it will magically vanish. Over time, this creates an emotional distance that can be just as destructive as constant conflict, because vital conversations never see the light of day. I recall witnessing a friend's relationship that fell into this pattern. Each time they tried to talk about finances, the conversation instantly spiraled into accusations, tears, and raised voices. Rather than exploring their spending habits or setting a shared budget, they hurled insults that left them both feeling bruised and unheard. The more they fought, the less they understood each other's perspectives. After months of this, their resentment became almost palpable, as though every minor disagreement hinted at a deeper, unspoken chasm. Cultivating better communication starts with listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but genuinely hearing the other person's concerns. It also involves asking clarifying questions and being honest about your own emotions. Even if doing so feels uncomfortable in the moment, addressing the root of the tension is far more productive than battling over symptoms. If you've ever found yourself locked in a cycle of arguments or silently withdrawing, consider how you and your partner can practice more open, respectful exchanges. Feel free to comment with your own experiences or challenges. Sometimes, sharing your story can open the door to fresh insights and constructive solutions. One of the early red flags in a relationship is an imbalance between giving and receiving. This occurs when one partner continuously sacrifices their time, energy, and emotions while the other takes these gestures for granted. Over time, this one-sided effort can turn a loving connection into a transactional relationship, where every act of kindness is measured and rarely reciprocated. Imagine a scenario where one person always plans dates, organizes special moments, and goes out of their way to support the other's dreams, yet their partner seldom shows appreciation or makes an effort to contribute equally. This imbalance not only creates a sense of emotional depletion but also gradually erodes the foundation of trust and mutual respect. I recall a real-life example of a couple I once observed. The wife, known for her caring nature, constantly worked to make their home warm and inviting. She would surprise her husband with thoughtful gestures, plan outings, and even handle most of the household responsibilities. However, her husband rarely returned the favor. He often forgot important dates and would cancel plans without a clear reason, leaving her feeling unappreciated and isolated. Despite her efforts to communicate her feelings, he remained indifferent, and the relationship slowly began to suffer from this lack of reciprocity. This situation exemplifies how a continuous imbalance in giving and receiving can lead to resentment and emotional disconnect. The lesson here is that a thriving, lasting relationship demands a balanced exchange of love and care. It is not about tallying up who gives more, but about creating a dynamic where both partners feel valued and supported. When you notice that one side is always giving while the other is consistently receiving, it is important to address the issue openly and honestly. Engage in a calm conversation where you share your feelings and ask if your needs are being met. If you've ever experienced or witnessed this kind of imbalance, please share your story in the comments below. Your insights could be the encouragement someone else needs to recognize the importance of mutual contribution. Remember, healthy relationships are built on equality, respect, and the willingness of both partners to invest in each other's well-being. When trust and respect begin to falter in a relationship, the impact is profound and far-reaching. It may start with irrational jealousy, constant snooping through your partner's phone, or an unrelenting attitude of contempt. These behaviors are not merely small lapses in judgment, they represent deep cracks in the foundation of a healthy partnership. Consider a situation where one partner routinely dismisses and ridicules the other's opinions, using sarcasm and sneering remarks that slowly chip away at self-esteem. Over time, these hurtful interactions create an environment where open dialogue is stifled and genuine connection becomes nearly impossible. I remember a couple I once observed. One partner would often check the other's messages and belittle their ideas, leaving the other feeling invisible and undervalued. This persistent contempt not only damages trust but also signals that underlying issues are being ignored. Recognizing these warning signs early is essential because trust and respect are the bedrock of any lasting relationship. When you notice a pattern of unwarranted jealousy or constant intrusiveness, it is a call to pause and re-examine your interactions. It is not about accusing your partner right away but about understanding that every relationship must be nurtured with honesty and mutual respect. If you or someone you know is caught in a cycle of distrust, consider approaching the subject with calm, honest communication or even seeking professional guidance. A neutral counselor can help both partners express their feelings and rebuild the respect that has been lost. If you have experienced such challenges, I invite you to share your story in the comments below. Your insights might help someone else recognize the early signs and take proactive steps to restore trust. Remember, while these behaviors are concerning, addressing them with empathy and determination can pave the way for a more balanced and fulfilling relationship. When two people in a relationship have fundamentally different visions for the future, it can create a silent but growing rift that undermines their long-term connection. Imagine a scenario where one partner dreams of traveling the world, seeking adventure and constant change, while the other envisions a life of stability, settling down, building a home, and starting a family. These divergent paths are not just minor differences, they represent deep-rooted values and priorities that, if left unaddressed, can lead to an inevitable impasse. I recall a couple I once knew in which one partner was passionate about exploring every corner of the globe, eager to experience new cultures and risks, while the other found comfort in routine and long-term planning. Despite their initial attraction, they gradually began to drift apart as their daily decisions and future plans no longer aligned. The adventurous partner would often express frustration at feeling confined, while the other grew anxious about the constant uncertainty and lack of security. This situation teaches us that healthy relationships require a shared vision or, at the very least, a willingness to negotiate and understand each other's core aspirations. It is not enough to simply love one another, both partners must be ready to discuss and compromise on life goals such as marriage, children, career ambitions, and even spiritual beliefs. When these differences are recognized early, they become an opportunity to engage in honest dialogue about what each person truly values. If you find that your relationship is caught in a tug-of-war between contrasting life directions, it might be time to have that crucial conversation where both partners lay their cards on the table. I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever felt torn between your dreams and your partner's expectations? Share your thoughts or stories in the comments below. Your insight might help someone else understand that while differences in life direction are common, they can be navigated with respect, empathy, and mutual compromise. Remember, a relationship built on clear communication and shared vision is far more likely to endure and bring lasting happiness. In many relationships, one of the most painful signs is when you feel you have to hide your true self to please your partner. Instead of being allowed to express your genuine personality, you find yourself constantly performing or adapting to what you believe will win approval. Imagine someone who simply does not enjoy late nights or crowded parties, yet feels compelled to join in, drink, and be the life of the party just to meet their partner's expectations. This type of behavior may initially seem like a minor sacrifice, but over time it erodes your sense of identity and authenticity. When you are forced to act against your true nature, you not only lose a vital part of who you are, but you also build a relationship on a foundation that is far from genuine. I once encountered a case where a woman, let's call her Emily, loved quiet evenings at home and reading, but her partner was a social butterfly who thrived on night-outs and high-energy gatherings. To avoid conflict and gain his approval, Emily began to change. She started going out frequently, even though it drained her and left her feeling disconnected from herself. Eventually, she realized that every time she tried to share her true feelings about these forced outings, her partner would dismiss her concerns, labeling her as too reserved or unadventurous. It was only when Emily took a step back and reconnected with her own passions that she began to understand the importance of living authentically. The lesson here is that lasting love is built on the freedom to be who you truly are. Authenticity and self-respect are the cornerstones of any healthy relationship. If you feel compelled to constantly perform or change yourself to gain affection, it might be time to reconsider whether the relationship truly honors your individuality. I encourage you to reflect on your experiences. If you have ever felt that you are not being allowed to be your true self, please share your thoughts or stories in the comments. Your experiences can help others recognize the importance of authenticity in relationships and empower everyone to seek connections that truly celebrate who they are. When a relationship begins without a genuine spark, or if that spark fades without any effort to revive it, the foundation for lasting connection is seriously undermined. This situation can manifest in several ways. For instance, imagine a couple that, from the very start, struggles to feel a deep emotional connection. They might go through the motions, dating, attending events together, and even sharing physical intimacy, but nothing ever seems to ignite a true sense of closeness. Over time, the initial excitement dulls and everything becomes mundane, almost as if the relationship was built on routine rather than passion or genuine care. I once observed a couple where one partner constantly felt that something was missing, despite having a stable and comfortable life together. They had always struggled with sexual compatibility and emotional intimacy, leading to a sense of detachment. The relationship lacked those small, significant moments of vulnerability that create a real bond, those moments when you share your fears, dreams, and everyday joys. Without these connections, both individuals began to feel isolated even when together, and the spark that once might have hinted at a promising future never fully emerged. The lesson here is twofold. First, if you sense early on that the connection feels superficial or that the spark is fading, it is vital to address these feelings openly. Communication about your needs, desires, and emotional experiences is crucial. It might be possible to reignite the flame if both partners are willing to invest in understanding each other more deeply and working together to build intimacy. On the other hand, if efforts to revive this connection are met with indifference or if both parties simply settle into a pattern of complacency, then the relationship may lack the vitality needed to sustain it long term. I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever felt that your relationship lacked that genuine spark from the beginning, or that it slowly turned bland over time without any real effort to make things better? Please share your thoughts and stories in the comments. Your insights might help someone else recognize that true intimacy requires active nurturing, not just passive acceptance. Remember, every relationship deserves the chance to flourish through honest communication and mutual effort, but if the spark is gone and cannot be rekindled, it might be time to consider what is truly best for your emotional well-being. When you continuously ignore red flags, the consequences can be far more damaging than you might initially realize. Over time, small issues that were once easily manageable can escalate into deep emotional scars. Picture a relationship where minor disagreements or dismissive behaviors are brushed aside without open conversation. These unresolved issues gradually erode the trust and mutual respect that are vital for any lasting bond. The emotional toll can extend well beyond the relationship itself, seeping into your daily life, affecting your work, your interactions with family, and your overall sense of well-being. Ignoring these early warning signs is like neglecting a small crack in a foundation that eventually causes the entire structure to crumble. It is essential to recognize that addressing these issues early on can save you from prolonged heartache and build a pathway toward healing. The important lesson here is to cultivate self-awareness and maintain your self-respect. You deserve to be in a relationship where both partners actively contribute to a healthy dynamic, where communication flows openly and honestly. When you notice a pattern of neglect, imbalance, or persistent conflict, consider it a call to action, either to engage in a candid conversation about your needs or, if necessary, to have the courage to step away from a situation that no longer serves your emotional health. Real strength lies in recognizing when you are being taken for granted and then taking decisive steps to protect your own happiness and future. If you have ever felt that your relationship was slowly deteriorating because you chose to ignore the warning signs, I invite you to share your experiences in the comments below. Your story may help someone else realize the importance of addressing issues before they become insurmountable. Remember, every relationship should nurture your growth and well-being, not leave you feeling isolated and unappreciated. By choosing to be aware, setting clear boundaries, and prioritizing honest communication, you are taking a powerful step toward building a more fulfilling and resilient life. Stay true to yourself and let your self-respect guide you to healthier, more meaningful connections. In this section, we explore practical strategies for fostering a healthier relationship and empowering yourself to grow, even when early warning signs emerge. Let's begin with communication and listening. One effective approach is to ask open-ended questions that invite genuine conversation. For example, you might say, "I noticed you seemed upset when we discussed our weekend plans. Can you help me understand what you're feeling?" This technique, sometimes called the bird theory, emphasizes the value of sharing small, everyday observations as a foundation for deeper connection. Instead of allowing disagreements to escalate into shouting matches or quiet withdrawal, aim to create a calm, safe space for dialogue. Through active listening and sincere curiosity, you can address issues before they accumulate into lasting resentment. If these communication efforts are not enough, consider seeking professional guidance through couple therapy. A neutral counselor can help both partners identify and understand underlying issues that might be clouding their interactions. Therapy is not a sign of failure, rather, it is a commitment to nurturing a more resilient and honest relationship. I have witnessed couples benefit greatly when they open up in a structured environment, allowing them to learn new ways to connect and resolve conflicts constructively. In addition to improving the relationship together, personal growth is equally vital. Invest in your own self-development by cultivating your unique interests and maintaining independence. When you honor your individuality and respect your partner's distinct qualities, you create a balanced dynamic that supports both personal well-being and the relationship's strength. However, if repeated attempts at open communication and professional support still leave you feeling diminished, it may be necessary to make a decisive choice. Sometimes, stepping away from an unhealthy relationship is the most empowering decision you can make, as it paves the way for a future where you can truly flourish. I invite you to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your insights might resonate with someone else who is navigating similar challenges. Remember, every step toward honest communication and self-respect is a step toward a more fulfilling and balanced life. Let's take a moment to recap the essential signs we've discussed today. We explored how early red flags such as love bombing, poor communication, conflicting values, and a gradual loss of trust can all serve as warnings that a relationship may be on shaky ground. Recognizing these signs early on is not a reason for panic, but rather a powerful opportunity to address issues proactively. When you notice these patterns, it's a call to pause, reflect, and engage in honest dialogue, either to heal together or, if necessary, to protect your emotional well-being. It's important to remember that the presence of these signs does not automatically mean that the relationship is doomed. Not all signs indicate an irreversible breakdown. Sometimes, both partners are willing and able to make meaningful changes, and that willingness can transform a fragile connection into a resilient, thriving partnership. I've seen couples who, after acknowledging these issues, worked through their misunderstandings, rebuilt trust, and eventually emerged stronger than ever. Their stories remind us that even in the face of adversity, there is hope for renewal. They show that relationships, much like any other aspect of life, require continuous effort, compassion, and a commitment to personal growth. Now, I invite you to consider your own experiences. Have you ever noticed any of these early warning signs in your relationship? Perhaps you've felt that subtle disconnect, that once thriving spark that has gradually dimmed. I encourage you to share your stories or even just your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience could offer valuable insight to someone else who might be grappling with similar challenges. Also, if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe to our channel, or share it with a friend who might benefit from this conversation. Your interaction not only helps spread awareness but also builds a supportive community where we can all learn and grow. Looking forward, it is essential to keep developing your skills in building and maintaining healthy relationships. Invest in yourself by learning to communicate openly and listen actively. Work on understanding not just your partner, but also yourself, your values, your needs, and your dreams. Remember, happiness in a relationship is not something that happens by chance, it is a long-term commitment to nurturing both the relationship and your personal well-being. Keep striving to be strong, decisive, and intelligent in your interactions. Embrace every opportunity for self-improvement, because a fulfilled life comes from knowing your worth and not settling for less than you deserve. Before we conclude, let me address a few common questions that often arise. One frequently asked question is, what if I recognize these signs but my partner denies everything? In such cases, it might be helpful to suggest a calm, honest conversation or even professional counseling, where both partners can speak freely and work on their issues. Another question I hear is, how do I decide when it's time to leave? This is deeply personal, but remember that staying in a relationship where you consistently feel undervalued can hinder your growth. Trust your instincts and know that it's okay to prioritize your emotional health over the fear of change. Finally, some ask, can these early signs ever be fully resolved? While no relationship is perfect, open communication and mutual respect can resolve many issues, though sometimes the best solution is learning to let go gracefully if efforts to heal are not reciprocated. Thank you for joining me in this deep exploration of early warning signs in relationships. I hope this discussion empowers you to recognize and address these signs with wisdom and courage. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it resonated with you. Together, we can foster a future of healthy, fulfilling relationships built on trust, respect, and genuine connection.